Thunderhawk is the classic wooden roller coaster at Dorney Park. This ride just celebrated its 100th anniversary. While it has undergone several changes over the years, it is still going strong, and I'll explain why in this review. The ride originally opened back in 1924 simply as Coaster. The layout was designed by Herbert Schmeck, and the ride was built by Philadelphia Toboggan Coasters. Initially, the coaster had a simple out-and-back design, but in 1930, the layout was reconfigured to have a figure-8 turnaround section in the middle. This is the same layout guests can experience today. The ride was known as Coaster through the 1988 season. In 1989, the ride was renamed Thunderhawk. I know some were upset the coaster lost a name it had for 65 years, but I prefer this ride's more distinctive name. In 1992, Cedar Fair purchased Dorney Park. Shortly thereafter, two major changes came to Thunderhawk. First, the coaster originally had a tunnel at the start and end of the ride. Part of that tunnel passed underneath the bumper cars. Both the bumper cars and the tunnels were removed, which is why the pre-lift section has that weird trench today. Second, a trim brake was added on the return run. This slowed the train down and negatively impacted the airtime during the finale. While not a change to the ride itself, it is worth noting that Steel Force was built in 1997. The lift hill for this Morgan Hypercoaster is positioned directly behind that of Thunderhawk, completely dwarfing the classic wood coaster. It looks super tiny now. It still looks good though, with the distinctive yellowish wood, and I like the wooded pathway running down the center of the ride. The next major change occurred in 2016. The ride received all new trains. For many years, the ride ran with PTC trains with seatbelts and buzz bars. The latter were single-position lap bars that rested a few inches above the laps of most riders. This afforded plenty of room for airtime. But in 2016, the park purchased new PTC trains with individual ratcheting lap bars. This is far more restrictive, but the change is not too surprising from a major theme park chain. Cedar Fair made similar changes to other wood coasters in their company, such as Cedar Point's Blue Streak. And the nearby Hershey Park just made the same change with Comet for the 2024 season. These restraints can staple you if you aren't careful, so I would recommend holding onto the bar once checked. But different restraints are not the only changes with these trains. The headrests were removed, offering better sightlines for those further back in the train. Then the ride got a custom lead car. The front is open air and set lower. However, the latter can pose an issue for taller riders. The lower front causes the grab bars to be closer to your knees, so if you have long legs, you may hit the grab bar, which is not the most comfortable. This is only an issue for row 1. When you reach the station, you are free to select any row you'd like. I prefer this coaster in the front car. I think the airtime is superior. If you want a smoother ride, I would recommend avoiding a wheel seat or the very back of a car. The ride is mostly smooth, but there are a few bumpy valleys I'll point out later in my element by element breakdown if you're in one of those wheel seats. Thunderhawk has 2 trains, and most days it will run both. Each train seats up to 24 riders, as there are 4 cars with 3 rows of 2. Usually the line for this is manageable. It's a near walk on most weekdays. Then even on weekends, I've personally never had to wait more than 15 to 20 minutes. But I know it can sometimes get a sizable line on days when the park is absolutely slammed. If needed, this ride is included in the park's paid fast lane skip the line pass, but I've never found it necessary when at Dorney. Now let's move on to the layout. Once dispatched, you slowly round a corner and approach the lift hill. You then climb the 80-foot or 24-meter tall chain lift. Because the ride is at the lowest point in the park and surrounded by trees, you don't see too much on the way up. Once at the top, you have a straight drop. If you're in the back car, you'll get some weak floater here. The following valley is the bumpiest on the ride. It is tolerable in most rows, but it can give a noticeable jolt if you're in a wheel seat. Next is a speed hill. While the train is moving fast, and this hill is super low to the ground. It is too elongated to offer any airtime. The next valley is quite tight, so you actually get a quick dose of positive Gs. Then you shoot up into this L-shaped turnaround, and if you're in the front car, you will get some really good airtime. At minimum, it's a decent pop, but if you ride this on a warm summer day, you will get a good burst of negative Gs. You then have this curved drop to the left. It's underbanked, so if you're in the back car, you'll get some laterals here. The pullout ducts underneath another part of Thunderhawk, creating a nice head chopper. This is another bumpy valley though, if you're in one of those wheel seats. You then rise upwards into the second turnaround. This is why you want to be sitting in the front row. This offers an intense pop of ejector airtime. I think it's the single best moment of airtime anywhere in the park. It is shockingly violent in a good way. You then have a 180-degree turn. It is slightly angled downwards, so as you turn right, you get some more laterals towards the back. But this turn does not go all the way down to the ground. Coming off the element, you have a drop that offers some weak floater in the rear rows. The pullout again can be a bit bumpy in a wheel seat though. Next is another L-shaped turnaround. If the ride is running fast, those up front get okay floater airtime as you rise upwards. Immediately afterwards, there's this great lateral slam into the turn. If the ride is running slow, you may not get the airtime and the laterals will be dialed back a bit. This element doesn't do too much in the back, unfortunately. This leads into the return run. This consists of a series of bunny hills. The first one reliably offers weak floater for those up front, and an okay pop further back. The second bunny hill sadly has that aforementioned trim brake. If you ride this on a warm day, it'll noticeably slow the train down. This kills the pacing, which has been solid up to this point, and it eliminates any airtime in the remaining hills. If you ride Thunderhawk on a cold day, the trim may be off. When that happens, I have gotten some light floater airtime in the second bunny hill and the entry into the brake run. The third bunny hill has never offered airtime for me in any conditions. You then hit the brakes and return to the station, ending the 2,767 foot or 843 meter long coaster. That's a fine overall length for a wood coaster, and despite the ride's age, Thunderhawk is running rather smoothly outside of a few bumps in those wheel seats. So what would I rate Thunderhawk? I would give this classic Woody a 6 out of 10. This is a decent coaster, even after all these years. The front car has some really good spots of airtime on the turnaround section, along with a few smaller pops. And the minimally banked turns throw in some laterals. I wish this coaster still had buzz bars and a faster finale, but the coaster is still enjoyable as is, and it has been enjoyed for many generations, and I don't think that'll change anytime soon. Of the classic wood coasters in Pennsylvania, Phoenix at Knoebel still reigns supreme. I would also take the trio at Kennywood over Thunderhawk. I also prefer Lakemont's Leap the Dips because of its uniqueness and peppy dips, but I would now take Thunderhawk over the remaining ones. So those are my thoughts on Thunderhawk at Dorney Park. What are your thoughts on this coaster? How do you think it stacks up to the state's other classic wood coasters? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you consider subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.